Throughout medieval history, tales of queens behaving badly captivated the gossip-riddled courts of Europe. Some queens were said to have committed acts so scandalous, so debased by the standards of their time, that even today their names are spoken with a blend of awe, revulsion, and curiosity. But whether they truly were depraved or simply the victims of slander is a question lost in the murky fog of time. The truth is far more complex and far more human than the caricatures history painted of them. One of the most infamous of these women was Isabella of France, the Queen of England and wife of King Edward II. In her youth, she was admired for her beauty and poise, yet beneath the surface was a fiercely ambitious woman who would stop at nothing to reclaim power from a weak and distracted king. Edward was notoriously attached to his male favorites, most notably Piers Gaveston and later Hugh Despenser. Their closeness was so intimate that whispers of homosexuality and betrayal circulated freely through the English court. Isabella, humiliated and politically sidelined, took a drastic step. She allied herself with her lover, Roger Mortimer, and launched a rebellion. Together, they overthrew Edward in a bold coup. Her relationship with Mortimer, openly flaunted, was viewed as immoral and unnatural for a queen. They lived in near royal authority, lovers and co-rulers, until her son, the future Edward III, turned on them and had Mortimer executed. Isabella's appetite for both power and pleasure left a legacy soaked in blood and scandal. Far to the south in Italy, another royal woman became the object of salacious rumors. Joanna I of Naples, who reigned during the 14th century. She was bold, intelligent, and charming, but her love life became a battlefield of controversy. Married 4 times, with lovers in between, she was accused of orchestrating the murder of her first husband, Andrew of Hungary, who had been found hanged from a window with signs of a struggle. The scandal rocked the courts of Europe. Later, Joanna would openly flaunt her sensuality, entertaining guests with flamboyant lovers and maintaining an almost hedonistic atmosphere in her court. Chroniclers wrote about her court in tones of both admiration and moral disgust. To many, she was not just a queen. She was a woman who refused to obey the sexual and social rules set for her gender. The tale of Eleanor of Aquitaine unfolds with more nuance. Born into immense wealth and power, she became queen of both France and later England through 2 royal marriages. Eleanor wasn't scandalous in the explicit sense, but her independence, political sharpness, and rumored affairs made her a target of relentless slander. During the Second Crusade, when she accompanied her first husband, Louis VII, to the Holy Land, rumors flew that she had committed adultery with her own uncle, Raymond of Antioch. Some even claimed that her behavior was so outrageous that it led Louis to annul their marriage. Later, she married Henry II of England, with whom she had a famously volatile relationship. Eleanor's rumored lovers, her political scheming, and her open defiance of royal husbands gave her a reputation for sexual arrogance. Her enemies found it easier to brand her a whore than to accept a woman of her intellect and influence. Beyond Western Europe, in the shimmering halls of Constantinople, the Byzantine Empress Theodora had her name etched in the annals of sexual notoriety. Though she lived in the 6th century, technically outside the strict medieval timeline, her legend was so salacious that medieval writers couldn't resist retelling it. Before marrying Emperor Justinian, Theodora was allegedly a low-born actress, code, in many eyes, for courtesan. The historian Procopius, in his Secret History, painted her as a sexual creature of unimaginable appetite. He claimed she performed indecent acts on stage involving geese, that she never refused a lover, and that her hunger for carnal pleasure was insatiable. Whether any of this was true is unclear. Procopius likely hated her. But the image stuck. Theodora, the empress who rose from debauchery to imperial splendor. In France, Marguerite de Bourgogne became entangled in one of the kingdom's most notorious scandals, the Tour de Nesle affair. She was the wife of Louis X and one of 3 daughters-in-law to the King of France. The scandal began when suspicions arose about the women's fidelity. A pair of knights were accused of sleeping with Marguerite and her sister-in-law Blanche. When captured, the men confessed under torture and the queen's fate was sealed. Marguerite was imprisoned and possibly strangled in her cell. Her downfall was painted as a result of lust and betrayal. Whether she truly engaged in the affairs is still debated, but the scandal fueled a surge of misogynistic fear about female sexuality in royal power. Even outside Europe, royal women could be both revered and reviled for their sexual freedom. Roxolana, the wife of Ottoman Sultan Suleiman the Magnificent, although from a later period, was accused of using seduction to manipulate the most powerful man in the Islamic world. She became a political actor, ordering assassinations and directing court affairs. Yet historians and poets often fixated more on her beauty and bedroom power than her statecraft. And then there's Lucrezia Borgia, often mistakenly included in medieval history, though she belonged to the Renaissance. Her family's notorious reputation, led by her father, Pope Alexander VI, tainted her image from the start. Her name became synonymous with incest, poison, and depravity. She was rumored to have slept with both her father and her brother, Cesare. There were whispers of orgies in the Vatican, of pregnancies concealed behind veils, and of parties where morality dissolved completely. Modern historians suggest most of these tales were fabricated by her family's enemies. Still, the myth of Lucrezia Borgia, the sensual poisoner, endures. In France once more, Agnes Sorel, the official mistress of Charles VII, wasn't a queen but wielded incredible influence and flaunted her sexuality with rare boldness. She introduced low-cut gowns to court fashion and scandalized the nobility by baring one breast in public. She was called the Dame of Beauty, a living symbol of erotic power and political intrigue. Despite her status as a mistress, her boldness and proximity to power made her a target. She died young, possibly poisoned, a victim of jealousy and vengeance. Then there's the enduring legend of Catherine the Great. Though she ruled in the 18th century, the mythos surrounding her sexual appetite is more medieval in tone than Enlightenment. She had numerous lovers, many much younger than her. Her enemies couldn't abide a woman in power with such autonomy, so they invented the most grotesque rumor of all, that she died attempting intercourse with a horse. The tale is entirely fabricated, yet reflects a recurring historical theme. Powerful women are rarely allowed to be sexual without being dehumanized. Across these stories, a pattern emerges. Whenever a queen stepped beyond the lines drawn for her, whether in politics, love, or expression, she was accused of perversion. Sexual independence was viewed as a threat. The easiest way to tear down a woman in power was to brand her a whore, a seductress, a monster in silk. Often, these queens were neither innocent nor guilty, but complex, calculating, passionate, and entirely human. They were survivors in a world that punished female ambition with gossip, humiliation, or death. And so their stories survive, not as histories written in certainty, but as echoes of a time when power and sex were weapons, and queens who dared to wield both often paid the price.